From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All the stories you need to know to get your day started. You can expect sunny skies and a high of 94. Some of the first students returning to San Antonio classrooms since the coronavirus pandemic shut down schools back in mid-March gladly socialized Tuesday morning at Edison High School. And then they stuck each other with needles. The group of 13 seniors was preparing for a phlebotomy certification exam in which, like many vocational tests, was delayed due to the pandemic. The students are scheduled to graduate Saturday and take phlebotomy tests at the end of the month. School staff handed out bags with graduation t-shirts and tickets on Tuesday in the parking lot, but the phlebotomy students stayed inside, intent on their work, figuring they'd pick those things up another day. Staff writer Aliyah Malik explains what drives their dedication. Companies are grappling with lost bookings and plunging revenues. They have furloughed or laid off thousands of employees. As parks and resorts restart operations and roll out an array of safety measures, they're waiting to see how many guests will feel safe returning. Six Flags Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld San Antonio reopen this month, and guests at the city's attractions will see new safety protocols and technologies. One industry insider expects a bevy of safety measures to remain in place for more than a year. As the hotel industry struggles, staff writer Madison Eisler explains how downtown businesses are reaching out to a different audience and what could happen to some distressed properties. On Tuesday, the state reported 2,056 hospitalizations, the highest number since the pandemic first reached Texas back in March. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said that he is watching the data carefully to guide how much more the state can continue to reopen businesses. In a statement, Governor Abbott said, "We are still evaluating whether or not there are any increase because of Memorial Day, and now whether or not there could be an increase in the aftermath of these very large protests that have taken place." While hospitalizations are up, Abbott's director of communications said Texas hospitals are well equipped. Staff writer Jeremy Wallace looks at the numbers and how Texas compares to other large states. In his State of the City address, Mayor Ron Nirenberg announced that he was dropping his support for a November vote to redirect 1/8 cent sales tax from the Edwards Aquifer Protection and Linear Creekway Parks programs to rapid transit. While transit in San Antonio hasn't been decimated by COVID-19 as much as it has in many other cities, local ridership is nonetheless down by 45%. Columnist Gilbert Garcia explains why the mayor's at least temporary abandonment of the sales tax boost for mobility has caused so much distress among Via Metropolitan Transit reps. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. Nearly 100 protesters gathered at the Bexar County Courthouse Tuesday, the day after District Attorney Joe Gonzalez said he has no plans to reopen the case of 3 black men killed by San Antonio police officers. There were more people with novel coronavirus in San Antonio hospitals Tuesday, but Metro Health officials said the system is still in good condition. 180 new cases were reported Tuesday. In the first statewide policy change since George Floyd's death shook the nation, the Texas agency that regulates police has agreed to add implicit bias training to a course required for every officer. Small businesses in Bexar County that have suffered losses from the COVID-19 pandemic have until June 19th to apply for a second round of grants. Spurs top executive R.C. Buford used the words of one of his childhood sports idols to inspire San Antonio Food Bank employees and volunteers at the nonprofit's Day of Service in honor of George Floyd. The economic turmoil from the pandemic largely hasn't spilled over into bankruptcy court. Bankruptcy filings in San Antonio area have actually plunged since the shutdown orders took effect in mid-March. Heavy truck manufacturer Navistar International plans to start building its San Antonio plant on July 1st, a hopeful sign for an economy that has shed thousands of jobs in the coronavirus-induced recession. Texas A&M University San Antonio will not change its academic calendar this fall. Vice President and Provost Mike O'Brien said the university is taking steps to try and limit the daily number of students and faculty on campus. The South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is offering free COVID-19 antibody testing to blood donors through August 31st as it tries to encourage more donations and boost the region's critically short supply. Join the Express News editorial board this morning as they interview VIA officials about the state of San Antonio's transit system. You can watch the conversation at expressnews.com. And now, the fun stuff. Hidden at the end of a shopping center, Northwest Food Mart traffics in more than 500 craft beers you probably never knew existed. It's a convenience store with character, a rare gem that goes beyond the traditional junk food. We're talking craft beers, spicy Mexican Bloody Marys, freshly made sandwich, and even a fresh meat market. Here are a handful of such quirky, cool convenience stores around San Antonio that take their unexpected trade to an art form. Staff writer Renee Guzman will take you to 5 San Antonio convenience stores with surprising gourmet, international offerings like micheladas, craft beer, smoked brisket, and Japanese snacks. Any other year, Travis Steele is probably sweating it out this week. With today's Major League Baseball draft cut down from the usual 40 to only 5 rounds, the recent Reagan graduate takes comfort knowing that he's already signed with Texas. The short draft likely means Steele's name won't be called this year, and that's fine with a 2-sport standout. David Hinojosa has that story. Yvette Benavides reviews Nancy Wason-Dinan's Things You Would Know If You Grew Up Around Here, which navigates a flood of hard truths and is set in the Texas Hill Country. The new Spike Lee joint, The Five Bloods, which premieres Friday on Netflix, leads our roundup of what's new in home entertainment. It will be a while before the Woodline Theater gets back to presenting live shows, but in the interim, it's launching a summer film series. The mayor took an unusually blunt tone during Thursday's downtown protest against police brutality. Hear this and other issues discussed in this week's edition of Puro Politics. That was your Express Briefing. My name is Luis Vasquez, and you can find all the stories and more at expressnews.com. Consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage of all the goings-on in San Antonio. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast in your Apple Podcast app. Have a wonderful day.